let me take a time out to say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you via our social media platforms, good morning to you. Whether you're viewing us via the YouTube channels, the Facebook page, good morning to you also. Hope you're having an awesome Tuesday morning. It's the 22nd day of July. Yeah, 22 days already within the month of July. Busy month, huh? I was actually mentioned that to someone a while ago. Hey, this month is a busy one. Hey, welcome to The Point. I'm your host, GT. I'll be around with you for the next hour or so. And it's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point this morning. And representing on To The Point this morning, we have former Prime Minister with us this morning, the Honourable Dr. Keith Mitchell with us this morning. And of course, let's go over to the Honourable Dr. Keith Mitchell and say good morning. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, my brother. Good morning, and of course, I'm doing fine. We have a nice mixture of weather here now, but it's rain and sun. A good time for planting.
All right, and I certainly hope you get it into that. Certainly hope you are.
Very much. I'm in the country, all over the country now, you know.
All right, man. All right. I want to get the conversation rolling this morning so I can get as much questions to you as possible. I want to start off on a bit of a light note this morning, if I could consider that a light note. You know, Grenadians got a bit of a scare a while ago with the health of Glen, you know, and we saw what happened. What the status with your health? Do you have to go on as long as your mom or beyond that? Tell us, how are you going along with that?
Well, I'm doing fine, my brother. I'm doing fine physically because I always recognize this, that health is number one priority for any individual. I've advised friends, family, and of political friends and others that take care of yourself. So I have consistently been doing my morning exercise. This morning I did over an hour and 15 minutes of running on the treadmill, and of course do a little arm stretching and leg stretching afterwards, you know, so keep going. So I follow my own advice about health, because that I always say is critical. And of course, I think one of the things that we all must recognize, that when you take care of yourself and you do the things that you do physically, you avoid a lot of health problems later, and the cost associated with it. It costs you, it costs your country and the society a lot. So therefore, if more of us do what we have to do basically for ourselves, it will help ourselves individually and of course collectively.
All right, certainly happy to hear that. And that of course give me the opportunity to go through with you this morning in terms of our conversation. I want to talk about something that is passionate to you. We're talking about cricket. I know you've been, of course, a cricketer yourself, a player. You of course, you know, everything surrounds cricket. You always have that positive involvement right through. Now, let's look at the recent troubling performance of our regional pride and joy. You know, cricket seems to have been on a down low. 27 runs in an inning. Is this appropriate warning for the future of this sport as a regional institution? Give me your views on that, sir.
Well, I certainly want to look at just one game as a basis for my opinion. I think it is clear to me that the last several years that our cricket has suffered enormously, and the players have not been able to provide a level of results that are consistent with the West Indies team over the years. And I think a number of factors are related, have contributed to this. Clearly, the advent of T20 teams around the globe and the money associated with it, guys are placing much more emphasis on this than on the longer format of Test cricket, the 50-over game also. So you see a lot of our talented players bypassing their commitment to West Indies team at the Test level and so on. And I think that clearly must be part of the problem. One would say, well, Australia and England and other countries have the same issues, but they're far bigger countries with much more resources available to them. So I think that must be a fundamental reason behind it. Secondly, I think we have to accept the fact that the structure of our cricket organization has to be looked at. I mean, historically, we know this. I think the whole question of how the boards are selected and the core issue of accountability and transparency and so on is a factor. So I think it's important to look at that also. And I think the question of resources, I think, must also be a factor, because if a player can earn a serious size of resources by not playing for you compared to what you're giving them, if they do play for you, then the tendency and the attractiveness to go elsewhere becomes a greater factor. So I think resources must be a factor in this whole exercise. So I think when you look at the overall performance, I think one has to certainly look there. I also think our own society and the structure has changed. I mean, when we are growing up, for example, in my own village, the only thing you knew is cricket. If you are not going to school, if you're not in school, if you're not doing your parents' work that they assigned to you to help with the family, you are all sorts of places, whether it's on the streets, if you didn't have the playing field, or whether it's on the beach, you are playing. That's not the case today. And the whole attraction of young people to all different levels of sports, not just cricket, is also must be a factor. Therefore, there is a combination of factors. The one thing I don't want us to do, and I think I've heard people singling out individuals. For example, the individual comments about Sammy and other persons in their involvement. I don't think it's fair. While you have to look at all areas, and certainly their role has to be examined, but I think to pinpoint them as a factor for the performance, for the choice of the players, I'm not sure. I'm quite clear. I shouldn't say I'm not sure. I'm quite clear that's not the right approach going forward. So we have to. Cricket means so much to the region. It's about how we live, how we feel about ourselves, the pride and joy of our players over the years. I mean, that these were factors that we wish we can get back there. So there are a lot of issues, and I've always consistently offered help and advice to the players, and of course to the board, and of course to the management team. As far as the cricket is concerned, I will continue to do so.
All right, sir. I still want to keep our conversation, of course, on regional institutions for a wee bit. What's your take on the St. Vincent's Prime Minister Gonzalez' recent pronouncement on CARICOM that we're talking monopoly money? The statement has had a few heads, nodded in terms of in agreement. Has of course regionalization, I should say, become a yesterday tool, or bringing back political memories of one of many of the 10 that you say one of 10 leave zero, if some would say it in that particularly. Frankly speaking, some of the regional stakeholders are asking the question: Is CARICOM still working? Let's see how you feel about that, sir.
First of all, I didn't hear the exact statement or comment that Prime Minister Gonzalez made. Could you tell me exactly what he said?
The statement rolls off in the paper that, of course, CARICOM and his in the statement he made, of course, is like monopoly money, per se. In reference to the statement that he made. I'm not sure if you haven't heard it, but something along those lines. And he had a few heads, nodding in terms of agreement to what he's saying in terms of the regional and the currency and so forth.
Well, Claire, I would always support the need for regionalism as a fundamental basis for our region. We are small countries, small economies, and so on. So, any attempt to try to go off on our own individually will certainly affect the whole. Each of us will be affected. So, my during the period of my service at the regional level of leadership, have consistently supported the whole concept of regional support. And I think generally speaking, leaders understand this. We have not always lived up to what we believed. Sometimes we talk one language and then afterwards we go back into our individual countries and we take parochial decisions that are related just to our environment, not recognizing doing that can have an overall effect in negative sense to our own country. So, but I generally think that that the regional approach to issues are clearly fundamental, and I therefore believe that we should never move away from that fact.
Okay, great. Time has changed dramatically, sir, and clearly Grenada needs to look at its own as itself. Now the old economic system, don't work anymore. If some folks are saying it, and there are of course exciting new proposed, prospects. That of course I heard like the China, the BRICS, and the road plan, Africa, and their new lease on economic life and so forth, and the global South and BRICS. What do you take on the way forward for us as a region, sir?
Well, clearly, as you know, influence over the years, in maybe 20, 30 years ago, have been isolated clearly in one area, whether it's Europe or whether it's North America and so on. Clearly, we're dealing with a global environment right now, and I think it's understood that we have to diversify our approach to relationships in an international arena, and therefore looking at Africa would be clearly one way to look at it. The Eastern Bloc countries' relationships that we have there, to Asia. China is certainly playing a major role economically as a world power right now in every sense of the word. And so we have to strike up relationships, and therefore whoever is able to give us support and to help our development, we must have fundamental relationships, and let's accept this. These countries are willing to understand that they also themselves have to reach out, and therefore we must be able to accept the fact that they are willing to help us. And as long as our whole question of our own understanding of who we are, and that no one is dictating to us that we give up our own dignity for any form of support, then I think we should always be willing to seek to strengthen our relationship with all countries around the world, understanding that we have to be one to decide what is good for us and what is not good for us. As long as we have that respect given to us, then I think the relationship should be diversified with any countries around the world. I think that's so fundamental.
Doug, how would you assess the overall state of Grenada today? Economically, socially, politically. How will you assess that, sir?
Well, I think that you broaden it to so many variables there, but I think fundamentally all of them are affected by the economy. I mean, as I go around the country, you could feel a sense of despair, a sense of unhappiness. People are having great difficulty coping with basic needs. And I think that's an issue which is so fundamental. And clearly, that's going to affect the social intercourse in the country as a whole. And it will certainly affect the political situation. So the economy and what is happening, there is seemingly lack of foresight, in my view, based on what I'm seeing, about what's happening on the ground level in the country. You go to the market and you see the vendors frustrated. They speak to you. You talk to the fishermen. They tell you how they are finding difficulty selling their products. You talk to the farmers. You talk to the shopkeepers. There are areas my friend, that when you go around the country, you see certain spots where people congregate, young men, young women congregate and socializing and having a drink. That's almost all gone. Most of these places are empty. So you know there are tremendous amount of problems facing people in the society. So you don't have to be an economist. You don't have to be an academician to understand the pain and this problem facing the society at this particular time. And I can understand why it appears that those who have the responsibility to deal with those problems don't seem to either don't know or appear not to be interested in understanding the plight that people are facing. So clearly, my friend, the situation is terrible. And you know, when I was Prime Minister of this country, and I used to go around the country, and I listen to people, and whenever I hear the pain, and people come to me about their pain, it affects me. Because I said, look, you have a position, whether you're a minister, or you're a parliamentary representative, or the Prime Minister. And if those positions are not beneficial to the people that you serve, then it makes no sense at all. The title you have means absolutely nothing if you care deeply about people. If those persons that you're supposed to be representing or serving in the different capacities, if they are not happy, then in effect, you should not be there. I always feel that's so fundamental. And I hope we can see a change in direction. I would certainly advance, and I always believe that we all fall short sometimes, but maybe with advice and, of course, listening to people, then we can modify and change course. And if that happens, then I think the country will be better off. And to me, that's what I would advise. Change course fast. Listen to people. Take initiative to change some of the pain outside there, and I think you would find the country a happier place.
I have one more question before the break, Dr. Mitchell, and I'm going to get you. You know, folks maybe say that you had that perfect political storm. You got unseated, you know, in 2022. And 3 years of learning the curve of the National Democratic Congress, or the NDC, would say, bearing in mind that this government was, you know, how we say, wet behind the ears, as some folks refer to it as. And as a Grenada foremost political veteran, what's your mark would you give them? An F or a C, if you have to, sir? And I beg of you to be brief.
I was a professor at university, I wasn't very good at grading people. I was very hard and with grades as a mathematician. And, in math, you have to be specific. So you're either right or wrong. But I would say definitely that clearly the government is certainly can't look for a C. It must be a D. Going forward, I think clearly there's so much unhappiness outside there. It is unfortunate. So I can't grade the government higher than this at this particular time at all, my friend. That's a grade I would certainly associate with the government at this particular time. But you never know. Things can change. The government can take heed, as I just said, and do things that demonstrate. My biggest problem, my friend, is that it appears that they are not listening to what is happening outside. That's how it appears. Or they do not care. And whichever way it is, I think it's fundamentally flawed. And therefore, they have a fundamental responsibility to do something about what is happening in the society out there. And I'm even more concerned. Look, it's clearly the businesses are telling you that things have dramatically taken a downturn. The businesses are telling you this, whether it's a small business, whether it's the retail sector, the shops, the local community shops, and so on. They're telling you this. The big businesses will tell you they're also affected. But while we have to be concerned about all of these, my serious, most major concern has to be the ordinary man who have no job outside there. And he can't find a way to feed his family, can't find a way to do the basic things he wants to do for his community, for his family and his community. And I think when we were in government, we understand our job is to create permanent jobs for everybody. But that doesn't happen overnight. And therefore what we had was the bushing program, where we had come into carnival time, for example, come into Christmas, come into Easter, 4 or 5 times a year. We had over 6,000 people on the road. Some people used to claim that people sometimes come to me, my friend, and say, Prime Minister, I saw a gang of people working out there, and they're not working. They're sitting on the roadside, and you should not be wasting government money, and so on. So I used to say to them, I hear you, and if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then clearly that's not right. So I hear you. But you're not talking to me about those who are getting thousands of dollars, right, through government, whether it's through contracts or through the public service or other areas, who representing the countries abroad and doing nothing in some cases. You're not talking about them, but you're talking about the poor fella on the street who may not be performing as he should, but you are concerned about him. But let's make it clear, and as someone who understands basic economics, the fella on the block, the guy who was doing the road work, he spends all the money he gigs around the country. He spends it in the shop. He spends it with the barber. He spends it with the tailor. He spends it with this, all over. His money is spent right through the country. So when he gets a job, even if he didn't work as hard as I mentioned before, he should. He's also making a contribution to the development of the country and to the status quo economically in the country. When some of us get and we take with thousands of dollars and we bank it or we travel abroad, we don't make the kind of contribution this ordinary guy makes. So I'm saying, if you want, anytime you walk into a country, my friend, and you see the economy appears to be dead and things are not happening, tell yourself the poor people are in trouble. And that's a fundamental way I see things.
Dr. Mitchell, we drew for a break. Let's take it. We come back. We got much more to discuss. Stay with us, folks. To the Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We coming right back after the break. Stay with us.
Attention all day.
Part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling global Africa. The 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum, Active 2025, is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
KT Entertainment is bringing the heat. It's time to feel the sound and smell the burn. Bass and burn, cars and noise. The automotive experience of the year. July 26th and 27th at the National Stadium Car Park. It's 2 days of adrenaline-fueled madness with over 30 show cars from Trinidad, including Lethal Auto, MacGyver Sounds, and Simplicity Creations, plus Grenada's own beasts, bringing the noise.
He'll say your back, come touch me then.
Early bird tickets are just $50. After that, it's $60. Get yours now at gotofed.com and all authorized ticket outlets. Gates open at 11 a.m. on both days. Sponsored by Country Cold Store, SP's International, Campari, Stag, Rubis, Fast Print, Waggy Tea, GMC, Rainbow Janitorial, Eco Blue, Spice Style Automotive, and McIntyre Brothers.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. With us this morning, we have the Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell with us this morning, former Prime Minister, of course, of Grenada, and also, of course, he's also now, of course, the position of the chairman of the new National Party. Dr. Mitchell, welcome back. Welcome back to the program this morning, sir. I want to continue on one of the topical conversations around these days. It's all related to, of course, the closure in St. John, road. The failure of it, folks. Some folks would view it as another albatross on the back of on our backs. In your opinion, what was this preventable, and the lessons that to be learned in other areas to come, sir?
Well, let's accept that I want to make sure that I'm absolutely fair in dealing with an issue of this nature. You can have disaster occurring in a country, in an area, at any given time. Mother Nature has a way of showing us its strengths at a certain point, and sometimes in a negative way. And therefore, I cannot say that it was necessarily preventable, because I don't know what was happening in that area at that given time. So I want to be very fair. My concern is what happened after the first. It appears that there was significant problem with the road. And I think the authorities have to take some fundamental responsibility for not acting with a level of professionalism and understanding that is necessary. I got a problem with how this government operates in dealing with serious, major infrastructure or other type of activities where my concern is, when you have an issue of that nature, you must make sure you get the professional expertise and advice, the consultancies, the engineering capabilities and capacities before you make a decision of whom is the major person to lead this exercise. I'm concerned about not just this project, other projects where people are chosen based on the association with a politician. In the end, the politician suffers, because if you choose your friend or your partisan supporter and he messes up the project, like happens in many cases, you may still have his political support, but you would lose hundreds of support. So it's penny wise, pound foolish. And then my concern is, I'm not sure the necessary preparation, the necessary processes that should be advanced before decision is made as to who takes leadership on the project was done. I'm hearing stories that tells me that there were, but I know for a fact this has been the case in several projects. Look at the Molyneux situation in my constituency. We budgeted about $11-12 million for that project. The project was going to be finished. And you had Minister Bowen, who himself is a well-known regional engineer, well-respected, and so on. So not only was a political person, but an engineer of a high standard. And therefore, when we went out of office, we heard so far almost $30 million have been spent on this project, and it's still not finished. You still see all kinds of potholes emerging in that road. They now you have a road that had a layer of tar on it, and now you see when the holes develop, you see they put in concrete. Now concrete mixed with tar, I mean the level of foolishness. It's quite laughable. And I wondered, where is the Ministry of Works? Where is the Minister of Works? Where are the engineers who are supposed to be leading? Not the politician. The engineers are the ones that are supposed to be taking leadership. I don't know who is taking leadership in the situation there at this particular time. And that is the case, the Cliff project in Woburn. Another example, project starts, and then you just see it stops and unfinished, and you can go all over the country. So it's not just about closure, my brother, which is really, I feel it for the people of closure. I know they are so far away from the main centers of activity in the country, and how do they operate now? I mean, when the government comes in, what initiative have they taken to help the people with the daily lives at this time? Yes, you may make all kinds of plans and talk about you're going to do a beautiful road from, well, these are just words. But what are you doing now to help the farmers, the people of closure live by farming? What are you doing to aid their ability to get their produce to the market and back? What are you doing to aid the children going to school soon when they have to go back to school? What are you doing to the mothers to help them to continue to take care of their families? These are some of the fundamental things that I believe we should. But I know our caretaker, Brother Gabriel, was a former parliamentary representative. I know he has been there. I know it hurts him and pains him to see what is taking place with the people of closure. And I hope and pray that things will change soon. And certainly I believe that all of us should be praying for them and doing whatever we can to help them physically, individually, and otherwise. I think we should do what we can going forward.
All right, sir. Sir, clearly there's a need for general, constitutional reform in Grenada. But recently, the Citizens for Constitutional Reform, led by Dr. Francis Alexis, a well-known constitutional lawyer, presented a proposal of a bill for the change to the oath of office without the need for referendum. Now, the change removed the reference of the King of England within our constitution, replacing with the word Grenada. What's your thought on this matter, sir?
Well, see, one thing you must know, my friend, about the New National Party and about me, myself as a person. When an issue of a serious nature like this is approached, we assess it on the basis of what is right and what is not right. Sometimes we as politicians take one position today because we're in government, and next time we take a different position where we are not in government, we're in opposition. The question of allegiance to Grenada, to me, is fundamental to my being as a person, as a Grenadian. So I really believe it's about time that we move past that king and queen thing where we are pledging allegiance to. So that's fundamental. As an individual, I'm giving my own personal position. And I believe that this is the position of most of the members individually in the New National Party. But when in the political arena, it's not just your view that you don't just make decisions just because you believe in this. People must be involved because this is about the people. We have a constitution, and as you remember, we did ask the people when we were in government to support that change. In fact, we were told that we must go to a referendum, and we did, in fact. And the present government party in office, in power today, did not support it and asked people to vote against it. So it failed. Now the same government now coming to tell us that we want you and we don't need to go to a referendum in this exercise. And we have heard the legal expertise of Dr. Alexis and others, we respect that. But we also have heard from other legal luminaries that this thing is necessary, that we go to a referendum. So the issue is, we support it, but we believe the people must be the one to make the decision. And the party has taken a position that if the referendum is set up like it was before, they won't have to worry about the New National Party refusing to support. We will support. But therefore, we believe that we must go right back to the people to seek the endorsement of such a fundamental change. And that is our position. So it's not about what individually. I believe that we'll find most people supporting it. But I think this, as I said before, when you're dealing with your constitution, it's not just about what you believe and what you think. I'm no lawyer, so I won't take a position. But if we're hearing from different lawyers that is the disputes as far as that we should go to a referendum or not, then we see referendum. Let's make the change to that process.
So do you think that, Grenada is prepared for a broader constitutional change, like moving towards a republic?
No, I am not sure that I think we have to, again, sometimes we want to make decisions based on us, we as leaders, or we think, and what we want. But this is about people. I'm not sure that is the approach has to be just what. If we want to move to a republic, let the people have the say. They must be able, and we go to them and explain the pros and cons of that change and let them decide. I don't like the idea of we sitting in our ivory tower as leaders in our own organization and saying this is what we should do, and then we just proceed to do it. This is Grenada's history. It's so filled with mistakes made by our political leaders in the past, where we just assume the position of the people and then make changes accordingly. I don't want us to make that mistake again.
So there's another topical conversation that is out lately. I want to hear your views on that. Mr. Lacret, also known as Laco, recently formed a new political party, while the Honorable Peter David also announced his movement, comprising now there will be 4 political parties, including the New National Party and the National Democratic Congress, to contest the next general election. Is this healthy political change for Grenada, or will these be confused or diffuse voters for say your views on that, sir?
First of all, my brother, Grenada has historically been a strong two-party system. And there has been a long period of history of people attempting to form third political force. And it comes and it goes. It never lasts. And I don't believe that situation will change. In the initial stages, there'll be some interest from certain sectors. But in the final analysis, when it goes down the wire, it's going to be a strong two-party system. And therefore, I believe that is what is going. So I don't see it's going to be serious traction for any alternative to the New National Party and the National Democratic Congress. And in the next election is going to be a straight fight between those two political organizations. Therefore, I hear people that are right, to form parties. What I can't understand is that you go into an election, you campaign with a political party, and you say, vote for that party. This is the best party and the best leadership and best this and best that. Then it comes a time that either somebody offer you something attractive, the party did not win, and people go on to buy you, and you go on that side and forget the votes of the people. I believe that we need to have something. Maybe that's another thing that should be part of our constitution. Political parties go to an election and people campaign, this is a party. If you want to change when that finishes, then you must go back to the people. That's my fundamental belief, right? The other thing is that you campaign with a political organization. You wanted to lead that organization. Because you did not get leadership, then you form in your own movement, so to speak. Now, give me a break. Everything was fine. If you had got the leadership of the party, then you would still be talking NNP as the greatest organization this country has ever seen. So the selfishness, and we have had a history, my brother, of people taking the votes of people and going. I want to say this. This gentleman called Keith Mitchell, his humble servant, has never done anything like this. I was part of an organization before in the New National Party in the 80s. And I disagree with the leadership on certain issues while having great respect. And I put forward what I consider best for the political organization. I did not leave the organization. What happened then? The leader then fired me from government and formed his own political and left us with a New National Party. And over the years, we have made sacrifices, but I've never moved away from the fundamental principles of the New National Party. And I hope and pray that we can find more people in the future. Because as you know, I'm hanging up the direct representative hat. But I'm going to be constantly, my voice is going to be heard consistent. As long as I have the breath of life, I will be speaking out on fundamental issues that concerns the country. And I believe more people need to do that, not remain silent when you see certain fundamental things happening which is not right for the interests of the country.
You certainly have preempted my next question, so I was going to ask you if you'll be offering yourself as the Northwest constituency in the next in the next election. If not, has the NMP, of course, named and you can take her for that particular constituency if you're not going to be partaking?
Well, the chances are very high that I won't be. But the question of the direct announcement, I represent the people of Northwest St. George's, and therefore I must make the announcement to the people. I've been given clear indication of the way I'm thinking and where I'm moving. But the alternative to do that, the caretaker, the person who is going to be taking the role that I had as representative, that person has to be in a position to be ready to take up the mantle. And we have certainly indicated of that individual that we are looking at, and it's going to be quite likely to be a woman going forward. And I'm quite convinced that I expect that woman would probably do even better than I did at the last election in Northwest St. George. And I got 80% of the votes. I expect that person will get more than 80%. Because, no matter how good you are, there's some people in your constituency just will not vote for you as an individual. But if that new person can get the solid support of what Keith Mitchell had over the years, and then get their own, based on their own values and interests, then you can have even a bigger number of bigger vote support for the New National Party going forward.
And you seem very comfortable who's going to be taking over. It has, but it certainly seems that you are comfortable who's going to be taking over the reign of Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, very much. Right. Very much.
Dr. Mitchell, we'll be due for a break. We're going to take it and we'll be coming right back with much more. The phone's already going also, but we do have a couple more questions I need to ask. After the break, we'll be right back, folks. Stay with us.
Remember.
The CARICOM community, assembling global Africa. The 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum, Active 2025, is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, Resilience and Transformation, Enhancing Africa-Caribbean Economic Cooperation in an Era of Global Uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
JKT Entertainment is bringing the heat. It's time to feel the sound and smell the burn. Bass and burn, cars and noise. The automotive experience of the year. July 26th and 27th at the National Stadium Car Park. It's 2 days of adrenaline-fueled madness with over 30 show cars from Trinidad, including Lethal Auto, MacGyver Sounds, and Simplicity Creations, plus Grenada's own beasts bringing the noise.
He'll say your back, come touch me then.
Early bird tickets are just $50. After that, it's $60. Get yours now at gotofed.com and all authorized ticket outlets. Gates open at 11 a.m. on both days. Sponsored by Country Cold Store, SP's International, Campari, Stag, Rubis, Fast Print, Waggy Tea, GMC, Rainbow Janitorial, Eco Blue, Spice Style Automotive, and McIntyre Brothers.
Somebody go out to face it. We taking them back to basic. Carnage, this year go hard to face it. I'm here, the 25th, look out for Soti the General. I tell you, somebody go out to face it. We taking them back to basic because of that catastrophic carnage. Go hard to face it.
Not there. Somebody go out to find your back. I don't they on that. I don't they on that. Somebody go out to face it. I tell you, somebody go out to face it. 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 Somebody go and shake it. All one events and break it. Somebody go out to.
Stumps ready? The biggest party in sports is back. It's Republic Bank CPL 2025. Bowls off August 14th to September 21st. 34 matches, 6 teams, 6 nations. Your Caribbean cricket frenzy. From big sixes to deadly yorkers, catch every boundary, every wicket, every moment. Live on GBN TV and Classic Radio. This is not just cricket. This is CPL. Sponsored by Republic Bank, Glen, and Hubbard. Republic Bank CPL 2025. Don't miss a ball.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Once again, it's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We're moving up to just around 13 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's go back and say good morning to, of course, Dr. Mitchell, who's with us this morning here on today's program. Dr. Mitchell, once again, welcome back. Dr. Mitchell, I do have a question I want to ask, because we do also want to entertain a couple of the calls from our listeners and viewers this morning. I'm sure they may have a question or two they may like to ask. In many countries, there are no doubt looking forward to the possibility of a female prime minister. Is Grenada ready? In your thoughts, sir?
Of course. The women have certainly demonstrated the serious role that they're playing in our development over the years, and I think they are ready for roles in many different positions. Remember, in the New National Party over the last 20 years, you've seen the emergence of several women representatives in the New National Party and was won elections and performed well in their individual constituencies. So if you can have them as representative, why not someone from their own grouping? So the female grouping can also be the prime minister of the country. There's nothing, I see no reason why that should not be the case. We've had a history of men And in some cases, we have not conducted ourselves well enough. So you're never going to a woman might also provide that new dimension going forward, that softness and love going forward, which I think in some cases women have not demonstrated. So I honestly believe this, and let's face it, one of the things that people must consistently understand, I think we know in our system we look towards the leader as the only person. People don't know this. When I was Prime Minister, I relied heavily on the team that are around me, particularly some members who had expertise in certain areas. People may not have seen it, they wouldn't know the level of discussion that took place before a decision is made. And because you're the leader, you seem to get the credit. But a lot of the credit for the success of the new National Party had to go far beyond me. There were lots of individuals who provided enormous support for the successes that the NNP had. And I expect the team that is going together with the new leader will be a major factor in her success and in the party's success and in the country's success. So it's not just about one person. It is about a collective group of persons working together and using the collective skills that they have to ensure the development of the country successful.
I want to ask you one more question before we go to the phone lines. Now, when you say the new National Party is ready to present that clear alternative, or should the people expect the new National Party to be more better than they were before? Give me your thoughts on that, sir.
Well, any organization can be just as good as they were in the past. If you're serious about ensuring that you can create development in the present period, you have to have programs that are consistent with the values of the people and the expectation of the people for that time. Now, clearly, your legacy and your history would be part of that, because you build on that legacy in taking initiative for additional programs that can make you the party relevant in this particular period. And we have to accept this. Every time the NNP has been in government 3 times before. 4 times before. Each time we spent 3 terms. And people decide they want change. And after they made the change, they became totally dissatisfied and bring back the new National Party. When the new National Party came back in, and as you remember, we got 3 consecutive 15 seats. So clearly, that means that the people are satisfied with the work being done. They got tired again, they voted us out. So, and each time 1 term for the National Democratic Congress when they came in. And I honestly don't see there going to be much difference this time. In fact, I believe the present NDC is far worse in its performance in government than the previous 2 NDCs government in 1990 and also 2008. So I expect that there's going to be a resounding victory for the new National Party in the next general elections. And our views and our programs and, of course, our policies will be presented to the people to show that we are not talking about just bringing back the programs and the development that we had. We're talking about improving it. And bring in additional activities that can show people that we're moving further into the future.
All right. Thank you, sir. So that's what we're getting to, of course, invite our listeners and viewers, 435-2041, 435-2041. And I beg, of course, our listeners and viewers, of course, to be brief with your questions. Of course, if you, of course, less of our opinions, of course, that lengthy information thrown out, and just be brief with your questions as we move along so we can accommodate as many calls as possible. Let's go to the phone line. Take our first call.
Very much, Mr. Telesford. Telesford. Greetings, how are you?
Good, doing good, sir. Go right
I
ahead.
trust that your guests can hear me. Good morning, Mr. Keith Mitchell.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning.
Listen,
Good morning.
know something? There is a saying in another language that goes like it's a refrain. They say, "Spero en la baja." What does that really mean? Badly spoken there really is a sort of colloquial way of saying it, but I'll wait for you in the lowering. I knew you'd come down, Keith Mitchell. Congratulations on your change of position as it relates to the changing of things in the Constitution, man. I'm happy for you, boy. Pardon. Sir, that you have come back down. So we leave that one there. I fully agree with you, and it is the way to go. Ask the people, because the people have the key. As a matter of fact, the key is in the door. The Constitution in itself. Now I'm convinced, having read it and understood it well. And it doesn't take any interpreter, special interpreter. What it says to be done, it is defined there in the manner specified, my brother. You know what I'm talking about. So we're going to leave that one there. But welcome to the flock. Okay. Some years ago, the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela bequeathed some houses to the people of Grenada after the hurricanes 2004-2005. It's been 16 years because on the 9th of 2009, these houses were handed to the various people, of which I am one of the beneficiaries. Of course, I think, based on my situation, son, and the applications that were made, and the people who worked on it, I received one of the houses. Note, I'm not differentiating between administrations. I'm talking about the government of Grenada through the Ministry of Social Development. Now, today, the government of Grenada is telling the people that they have to pay for the land 16 years after. I say no more on this issue, but I'd ask your views on this. But may I hint, many of the people in this here country, inside this village, Simon Bolivar village of Lacaloon.
My brother,
let me just finish.
I myself I'm baffled.
No, let me finish off, and then you'll talk. You listen. The people listen, and I listen on here. The people can't even fix certain things with some of them. They never had a proper job. And otherwise, with me, I have capacity, but they refuse to hire me because I'm too strict, they say. And I'm disagreeable, I'm difficult to work with, but that's it. After all that, when I was a young man in this country, called upon me to do, and I did, with countless, I wouldn't even go into the numbers of voluntary work for Grenada. Tell me 16 years after I was given a house, I'm trying my best to take care of it. They tell me I had to pay for the land. I want to hear your views on that, Keith. Have a nice day, will you?
Thank you, sir. Respond to the call, Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, that decision about paying for the land, I don't understand how who decided this. If someone is given a house, so I could give somebody a house without the land on his own. So clearly the intention then was the land was part of the house. So some things this government do that I think it defies logic. They alone could explain the rationale behind this. And as the brother said, I can't understand it. If you're saying that the government was wrong to give them at the cost, and that you want to increase the cost, well, you can take the political consequences for that change. But to say that the land was not given, was not part of the building, that's certainly ridiculous, and it lacks logic.
We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome. Let's hear from you.
Hey, good morning, GP.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Mitchell. It's nice to hear your voice.
Good morning, my brother.
Dr. Mitchell, I'll go straight to my question. You was branded by Al Jazeera as one of the most corrupted prime minister in the Caribbean, along with Gaston Brown and a few others. Dr. Mitchell, you served Grenada for more than 23 years with all this victimization, and I could never feel people. Kim the King is one. Eddie Frederick, Judge Grant. All right, so when I hear you come on program and talking about victimization, go back into your life. Dr. Mitchell, my question to you now. After you cost Grenada more than $400 million plus Tell me how Grenadians like me in our right mind when we see this present administration changing the dimension of Grenada could put back somebody as you and the NNP in power.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller so we can
First of all, you're not putting me back in power. I have signaled clearly. It's obvious that you came prepared with a question and you're not looking at the facts and the preambles to what you're saying. So clearly you're out of step with what I'm saying. I would not be back in power. I said it's highly unlikely that I'll be involved in running for any seat. I said that's highly unlikely. I said that if you were listening. You're talking about propaganda, my friends. The history or what else is there? An institution makes a statement without facts. You take it and you brand it and you take it as if it's facts. If there were facts, I'm out of government. Why can't I was out of government after this? And no one could bring anything to show that I did anything that was illegal or wrong. You're talking about, I didn't even mention, I don't know that I mentioned victimization on this program this morning. The host is there. So I don't know that I mentioned, but if you want to talk about this, then I would say yes, there's serious victimization taking place at this point in time. And you talk about some elements I victimized. My brother, absolute nonsense. The people you're talking about, some of them owe me lots of money for character assassination, and people are saying, why didn't some of them started paying and they've stopped. And I have not done anything. Maybe I should, because I don't know, the names you're calling there are not people that I victimized. They victimized me. My character was put out there in very negative way. In fact, some of them even one of them at least said that I was too black to be in any serious position in government. That's the kind of individual you are defending, my brother. I think you should go back and look at what you're saying and apologize to yourself for the statement that you just made.
We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning, welcome. Caller, good morning, you're live. Let's try another call. Let's go another caller. Caller, good morning, you're live.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go right ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Keith Mitchell, for your service to the country.
Caller, for some reason, caller, one sec. For some reason, we are losing you. I'm not sure if you're using a Bluetooth device or whatever.
Can you hear me now?
Go right ahead, please. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Keith Mitchell, for your service to this country. In your deliberation this morning, you did mention as long as we do not sacrifice our dignity. Now, when one look at the geopolitical global climate, we as a small island state, and even if we combine ourselves as a Caribbean community, we are relatively small on the global scale. We have been independent for quite a while. And when one look back, and for example, agriculture was an essential part of our economy. It fed us. Now, we cannot compete with the world right now when bananas in our stores, in our grocery stores in Grenada, are to a large extent even more expensive than in North America. It costs much more. In places that it's cheaper in places that actually don't even grow bananas. They have to import bananas. When you look at a spacecraft landing on the moon, it's not just the process that takes place after when the spacecraft is launched. It's the preparation. A lot of it is the preparation that goes prior to that. For some time, years prior to that. So, and government is something in continuity. So when one look at the issues that you so nicely describe currently going on in Grenada, and the challenges and your concerns, do you think that prior government have adequately prepared the landscape for successful landing, as it were? Do you think we have done that? In retrospect, your personal politics aside, do you think we have done that? You think prior government have done us a good service? Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Yes, my brother, let's accept the fact that no government has been perfect in the country over the years. and every government of the past would have done some things that have made you feel that they have provided a positive contribution. So I accept the fact that the foundation was laid over a period of time by different organizations. So Matthew Gary and the GLP would have done a share, right? And they were not perfect. There were mistakes made. Similarly, the National Democratic Congress came in. I can't say I think Gary did a better job than they did, but certainly you can't remove the fact that they made some contribution. George Brizan and others and so on. And the New National Party at different periods of the service under Robert Blaze, and who brought back a semblance of democracy in the country and so on, and made some decisions which helped to move the country to another stage. The New National Party under myself have done their share. And of course, the present government I'm explaining had received some significant basis for taking off. But I honestly believe they're not finished. They have 2 more years maximum to go. So they can correct some of the things that they're doing and do away with some of the negatives and move forward to help to bring this country forward. So yes, I believe some foundation has been laid, but a lot more has to be done, and the job continues to move forward.
We'll take our final caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Dr. Mitchell. I want to ask a couple of questions. And first, and I'm going to preamble it by saying you've been Prime Minister for a significant amount of time. One of the things that struck me mostly was a few months ago when I heard the current Minister for Health saying that they have not been able to move the needle on health. And then subsequently we learned that Grenada would have had the opportunity to access medicine at a cheaper cost through its normal channels that we would have done through the region. And yet still we find our health situation continuing to worsen. I would like you to speak on that, and how do you believe that a new NNP government coming into office would be able to address it, if you can? And also, from your financial background, we've heard on a number of occasions about the fact that the squandering of monies, it has been referred to that, and I'm saying it because it has been referred to that, the squandering of monies by this present administration, the rise in salaries, the lavish spending on things that does not bring economic benefit to the average person. And we've had to hear a lot of these things, bribery, blatant bribery. We've had to hear a lot of these things coming out. I would like you to speak on that and tell us what are some of the initiatives, if you may, that the New National Party may want to deal with, if you can, because you're no longer the leader. But from your position of, being the leader that you were and obviously having your influence, can you just enlighten us on those things?
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller, Dr. Mitchell.
Issue of health. Historically, one of the serious issues confronting almost every government, every country, is the issue of healthcare, because it's about one's life. So you would never hear in any government being in office, it was so under the NNP, that people are satisfied, completely satisfied with what's happening in healthcare. But the situation today is, I would say, it has worsened. And the minister himself has spoken. I don't think they have taken the kind of initiative that could have been taken to help alleviate some of the problems. As I said before, I didn't expect solution to all the problems because it didn't happen under NNP, it won't happen under NDC, it probably won't happen under the next government also. But I expect that they should have used some of the basis that we set. For example, the whole question of the OECS medical facility that we had. Well, I understand that is in problems, where we could buy drugs cheaper by investing in the facility. I think there are some serious issues there. The question of also, we're looking at the possibility of a statutory body going forward. I think that these are issues, and ensuring that we have the necessary resources. I heard the big announcement about a new hospital, about $400 million, as if a building is key to healthcare. The building is not the most important thing in a healthcare facility. It is the service in the institution, the equipment that you have, the training of the staff, the appropriate staff members being there, and of course the environment created by the management system set up. These are the key issues. You can have the most beautiful building and still have literally your healthcare will be suffering. I went to Cuba when it came to government, and I saw what the Cubans had done. There's some small facility in terms of building. Sometimes a tent in a particular village, but they had all equipment there, they had all the staff, all the trained medical personnel providing the service under a tent in some cases. So I think that the philosophy of this government is about some big, beautiful, something like we talk about in the States right now, a big, beautiful building, big, beautiful bill. Sort of. These are just words. They're not solution to the problem. Finally, I have heard, well, remember, when you're in government, they accuse my government of all kinds of unfortunate things about corruption and so on. We had inquiry. I set up inquiry on my own government and asked people to come in and give evidence. And of course, it was proven that there was no such evidence. We're not saying that the government was perfect. We're not saying that no one in the government did anything that was not necessarily proud for us to. But certainly, the kind of outlandish statements being made about corruption. Remember the famous briefcase, which was totally made up by opposition elements, and so on. All these things we have to deal with. And I'm saying today we're hearing about all sorts of information, people providing checks. People are providing direct information about bribery and corruption in the government. This is what we're hearing. It seems to me, at any leader hearing those statements, whether he thinks it's true or false, and the public is believing it, should do what I did, was call and have an inquiry, get an inquiry with independent team of persons to investigate. And if anything is found factual, then deal with the person accordingly. But we hear nothing, and it's business as usual. Not even the disciplining of the members. Nothing you're hearing, just business as usual. So unfortunately, this is where we are, and hope and pray that we can see some change sooner than later.
Dr. Mitchell, that's where we come to the end of today's edition of To The Point. I want to thank you a lot for being on the program today. It's a pleasure to have you on the program as always. Anything in closing before we take a wrap today, sir?
See, my friend, I'm happy to see the New National Party number of young stars coming forward and making sacrifice to contribute to development of the country. You have a lady called Amanda Japal in St. Andrews Southwest, is someone I think has a tremendous future politically and otherwise. In the south of St. George's, we have Christopher Diali. He's a young man with a lot of skills and, of course, commitment to this country. And in St. David's, it's the Nolan Thompson. It's been a shining light where the work that she's doing around the ground in St. David's and demonstrating to people. Being a representative is about people, it's about service, not about posing, not about posturing with titles and position, but serving and communicating with people at the ground level. I'm happy to see the party having such people. And there are many others going forward who are certainly going to be, and I'm happy to be there to provide advice and support, given that as I signaled before, it's highly unlikely that I will be directly involved in the question of representative politics going forward. But I certainly will not hesitate to be involved in giving guidance and support as I go forward as far as the country's future is concerned.
Once again, Dr. Mitchell, thank you so much, and best wishes for the rest of the day, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, best wishes. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. I want to thank all who contributed towards today's edition of To The Point. Thank you so much, and join me again for another edition. That's how we say goodbye.